E aí, jovens, sejam bem-vindos a mais um vídeo. Galera, eu trago pra vocês uma entrevista que eu realizei lá na BGS 2024, a primeira internacional do canal, com a Belia Portillo, que é gerente global de marketing da Jackbox Games, e o Warren Arnold, que é diretor e roteirista dos mesmos jogos. Essa franquia começou pelo nome o Don't Know Jack, lá em 95, ela depois ganhou um novo nome, que era uma série paralela, na verdade, né, o The Jackbox Party Pack, mas hoje em dia ela assumiu esse manto, que são jogos de festa, com você podendo jogar tanto ali com seus amigos, num local só, como remotamente, tanto que a pandemia ajudou bastante ali em ganhar mais visibilidade. É um papo interessante porque eles falam sobre o mercado brasileiro, de como eles não tratam ele como um mercado à parte, mas há todo um cuidado especial que eu acho que até pra quem não tá muito familiarizado com a série, vale ver, porque é muito sobre mercado, processo criativo. Foi muito bacana, eles deram uma abertura legal aqui, trazendo informações muito interessantes, e eu acho que eu tinha que postar ali na íntegra, então eu legendei todo aí pra vocês. Queria agradecer o Marcos lá do NintendoBoy, que me credenciou pra ir no evento. Foi uma entrevista oferecida pro canal também, mas eu fiz pro site, então vai ter uma versão escrita. O Ken, que tava lá pra me dar apoio, e o próprio Ivanir, né, que escreve pra Nintendo Blast, outros sites aí como Noise Pixel, Game Blast, Nintendo Blast, Hardcore Game, o cara escreve pra Deus o mundo aí de site, e ele fez a entrevista, né, apesar das perguntas terem sido minhas e revisadas pelo editor do site, mas a minha voz tava bugada, tava gripadão lá, o clima de São Paulo foi meio complicado comigo, mas tá aí, né, e eu espero que vocês gostem, né, eu gravei e fiz aí com carinho, acho que ficou muito bacana. Então, dê uma chance aí que vocês vão curtir o papo. E assim, eu sei que é jogo ocidental, meu canal é mais focado em jogo japonês, mas eu me permiti dar esse espaço aqui pra eles e vou fazer mais aí com jogos que eu acho que tem propostas interessantes, né, que fogem do convencional, que eu acho que é toda a essência, né, da Shag, né, dar visibilidade pra jogos que realmente, né, incentivam a indústria a ir por novos caminhos.
What were the challenges when localizing the games to Brazilian audience, and how did dubbing come into this process? How did you work about adapting terms, cultural differences, this kind of thing?
We didn't adapt any cultural questions or anything like this ourselves. We definitely hired people local here in Brazil in order to do that. But I think that Warren can kind of speak a bit to the creative process there. We did work with Rockets Audio, for example, to do the voice acting right here in Brazil. They rewrote a lot of it as well. But from a director's perspective,
yeah, whenever we're taking a game that's American and bring it to another country, we don't ever want to say, like, in America, we're asking a question about the Green Bay Packers, a football team up there. We're not going to ask you to just translate that to Brazilian and then have to answer a question about American football. We would just strike that question and let the team in Brazil offer up their own trivia question in their place. Probably about sports, I think we kind of leave that open to them. But rather than try to force anything we're doing in America on the players outside of America, we don't do that. We just let the localization team figure out what'd be best there. Especially when it comes to humor and things like that. We're not going to force a joke I wrote. Nobody wants to hear my jokes probably anyways, but we let them localize it to come up with what's appropriate in the home country.
What is the outlook for the future of the series in Brazil? What do you hope to do next? Are we gonna get more games?
I think that first and foremost, we really want to see how Brazil enjoys these games. We right now have 4 games, including Survey Scramble, that are available fully in Portuguese for a Brazilian audience. So if you guys like it, we have social media accounts on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Now that you guys have Twitter back too, there's no excuse not to follow us there. And all of those accounts are also in Portuguese. We work with Teo Games and their social media team to make those experiences on social media feel very authentic to the brand and to this country as well.
And how are you working on developing this community in Brazil? Do you feel this is, I imagine this is in progress work, but how do you feel it goes right now? What do you feel are the next steps you want to do to develop this community?
So we've been doing the exact same things that we do for our American audience. We're not doing anything different here. We don't think that Brazil deserves to be treated like a lesser market in any way. So we have social media accounts for Brazil across all major platforms. We have a newsletter that goes out to a Brazilian audience. We're working very closely with Teo Games and their team in order to help build up that community as well. I would say that the reception reception. You know, I want to hear more from Brazil. If you guys have any feedback for us, if you guys think that our games aren't funny, let us know. We want to hear that. So far, what we've seen is a lot of passion here at BGS. We're also coming to events as an example. We've seen a lot of passion from the fans, and if they're really enjoying it, let us know on Steam, let us know in email, talk to us. You know, we want to make this experience as good as possible for them.
You've actually done this also at Gamescom Latam. Do you feel this is having some success in helping develop this community here as well?
Yeah, it's hard to measure success when we're still starting out in a new region. I think that the only way that we're going to be able to let people know that our games exist is to come to events like this, because once they see it, once they play the games and they start to laugh, they understand, and we just need them to play one time and remember us over the holidays in order to feel like they want to return to these titles in the future.
One question here is about how the pandemic gave the series a big jump in sales. And do you feel this is still the case for the series, or did it go down, or do you feel you've been working on keeping the momentum?
I got hired in 2020, so it was kind of hard for me to say like what the company looked like before the pandemic. But yeah, I would say that we did see a lot of people who had to stay home and they wanted a way to connect with their family and friends and still laugh during some incredibly difficult times for a lot of people. It was a really challenging time for everyone, but we were really happy to be the ones to provide a smile for so many people when they needed it. Our games, as you know, can be played remotely, so what we saw is a lot of people playing on Zoom, for example. So we were happy to connect people who weren't able to visit in person with our games. Obviously, now that people can go more outdoors, we're trying to remind them that you can also play our games here in person. You don't need to be on Discord. You can be in the same room now, and at events like this as well. So I think that trying to remind people that this is a game that they can play and it's not just that pandemic game, it has been going well. You know, I think that people are starting to remember and bring us back to their homes.
More about the game development aspect. How do you deal with the prospect of developing games in so frequently, right? You've just had the Naughty Pack, and now you have this Survey Scramble. And how do you work about having this, let's say, packet release?
Luckily, we have a lot of ideas. One thing with Jackbox Games is everybody in the company, it doesn't matter what your discipline is encouraged to pitch an idea, like anything. And what happens then if, like, say, someone has something, they paper test it, and everyone may or may not agree that, like, oh, that there's something there. And if we do find something that makes us laugh or makes us feel like excited about it, we'll focus on that very heavily and just keep iterating and changing things until like it's kind of polishing it up until it feels like a good thing. And sometimes like the smallest ideas turn into like, you know, the best ideas. So we don't really worry too much about running out of ideas. It's just more about making sure we're invested in taking small things and building them up. So far we still have lots of ideas. Hopefully we don't run out anytime soon.
The Naughty Pack was a community request for adult games. What were the challenges in making something with this perspective, right? Making a party game with adult content must have been a tough challenge in numbers.
Definitely. I think the hard part about doing anything adult is when people play our games that aren't adult, they're making them adult. Like, so they're putting in adult answers. So then when you write adult prompts to like generate those responses, you don't want to be ahead of the joke. So if someone's the player wants to deliver a punchline, they want to be funny. If we're working ahead of them, then they're not going to feel as good. They're not going to feel as creative. So the hard part is to be like, it's okay to talk about these subjects, but we'll let you finish the joke. We'll let you take it where you want to go with it, not let us as the game company dictate how dirty it's going to be. We still want the player to have that control. So that was the challenge, just reviewing, especially on the editorial side, of does this still get a laugh, but does it still leave room for the player to be creative?
How was the reception for this game?
So far, I think we've had a pretty good reception. I feel like the people who really like it, really like it. So like when we were playtesting a lot, especially externally, we just had so many people like yelling at their TVs during Let Me Finish and like putting in very crazy stuff during Drawful and getting very animated and heated during Faking It. And then as we've watched a lot of Twitch streams, we've seen more people start picking up on like how to navigate some of those spaces in the game, because it is a little bit of a different ask versus like some of our normal games. But I think it's one of those things that's we've just watched the enthusiasm start to grow as it's been out there longer.
For Survey Scramble is a quiz-based game. What's the process when coming up with an idea that is so based on text and on people bringing them the prompts, right, and bringing them their answers?
Doing these type of survey questions, you need to ask something that can generate a big opinion, but also have a lot of answers. Like, what's the perfect age? And it's like there's a very diverse set of answers, and it can generate a lot of discussion because there's then a lot of possible answers for that. And same thing is like, what's the perfect snack food? There's lots of answers for that, and people are gonna have very strong opinions about that as well. So I was trying to key in on those things that like you think, oh, this will get a good argument going. So really, but at the same time, there's not 5 things. There's hopefully 100 things. So it's just having your brain in that place of like what's something people could argue about and have very diverse opinions about.
And when you come up with those ideas, do you think there are some differences that maybe some of those questions you think people are so passionate about would not work at some other community?
That happens a lot. I mean, we always try to think of things through a lens of like, is this generally accepted without being boring? Like, because I think sometimes if you then try to make it for everybody, you kind of make it for nobody. It's like it's not going to be as exciting and all that. So if we do something that might feel like someone's like, well, and I guess that's kind of, it goes back to some of our early days of Jackbox Games. Like we played Trivia Murder Party, the original one, and we immediately got messages from people in England being like, I can't play this game. I have no idea what you're talking about with some of this American stuff. That was something we heard, we took it in, we're like, okay, well, at some point we want to work towards eliminating US content. It's hard to like go a whole lot smaller than that because there's going to be subsets within any culture that some will like this and some won't. And I think you just have to try to do something that will be mostly generally accepted, and then if that doesn't work for everybody, most likely we've made something somewhere else that other players can go to. So, yeah.
And do you think working on for an audience with a very different culture from the American one, it has some impact on your development process?
Yeah, it definitely. We have to. Our producers do an amazing job, is what I'll say. They keep us on schedule because we ship at the same time all of our languages. So we have to have a lot of stuff written earlier, have a lot of anything that's going to be translated has to be known much earlier than what we used to do, which is a good thing because now we can be in more markets and all that, and we have to really focus in on like, well, what's necessary, what's really strong for this game, and then so that way we can have it ready to go to the other markets. But it's had an impact for the better because now we're able to reach a larger market.
Okay, so the questions here are over, but anything you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, play the Jackbox Survey Scramble for free tomorrow during Steam Next Fest, October 14th through the 21st, and the game releases on the 24th, so a couple days after that.
And I'll say Jackbox has always been one of those companies we've spread by word of mouth. Like, so someone goes to a party, has a great time, and then they go and tell their friends about it. So if you play our games and love our games, I beg you, please tell somebody. So no, that's how, if you like it, we love to hear about it and tell other people about it. And it's just a good way to make memories. Yeah.
Thank you very much.